What's up? It's the Weird Faith
Hey,
Podcast.
how's it
I am
going?
Scott. That's Phil. And we have a special guest today from the very far region of Barboursville, West Virginia, also known as Greater Huntington area,
Greater
the
Huntington, absolutely.
metropolitan area of Huntington. We
Wow.
have Jordan Casto. Say hi.
Hello.
Tell us all
Honored to
about
be here.
yourself.
Yeah, I am from West Virginia. This is my first time in Clarksburg.
He said the road up here this morning was beautiful, which you ever driven 79? It is gorgeous, but it's also boring.
Incredibly. The tractors really helped that I was behind. Other than that, it was terrible. I'm a youth pastor. I substitute teach, and I love to sleep.
You love to sleep. There you
Hey,
go.
That's a man after my own heart.
If you haven't noticed, now we got 2 episodes in a row where Josh isn't here, so
He's okay.
He's okay, but Phil, you why don't you share?
Yeah. So this is a really busy time for youth pastors.
Apparently not.
I have to
got all
go.
the time in the
Sorry.
world. No, but this is a busy time for Josh during the year, so he'll be back for our Christmas episode. We'll do a live stream Christmas episode here in a few weeks, and then we'll see where his schedule's at the beginning of next year.
So-
We've got some exciting ideas for
No
that.
more rumors. Michael Yost, I know you've been spreading rumors. I'm just
Yeah.
kidding. No, but Phil said it. This will be our last episode. We're gonna do one more live event during December because the hustle and bustle of Christmas. We're busy too. Josh's not the only one. We actually do stuff also sometimes, and Jordan does probably. I'm
You all
sure
have
too.
jobs?
Just on Sunday.
But we'll do
For
a
an
special
hour.
live one. We enjoyed kicking off season 2
Yeah,
with the
that was
live
fun.
event, so we're gonna do that again. Maybe do some Christmas games and ugly Christmas sweaters or
I think
something.
we should do like
There you go.
what do you call it's Santa
Secret Santa
yeah.
from our guests or for each other.
For each other, yeah. We'll each
That's
pick a
pretty
hat.
self-serving.
No,
The
but
guests
it'll
have to
be
bring
like
in
a
gifts.
Will it
funny
be really
thing.
secretive?
Yeah, yeah.
But you also
Oh.
have to still send Scott pictures of what the gift is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. That's all it is. It's a picture. Of
I will
someone.
see beforehand what it is. Yeah. But we're going to talk about some things that we know that Jordan loves. So Jordan's in class with us in Palmer Seminary. And whenever we go to seminary, we're away at Parchman Valley, which is down in Ripley, West Virginia for a few days. Jordan is the one who always brings a variation of a board game, a card game. It keeps us entertained because there's like zero internet at Parchman Valley.
Mhm.
And so it's like, what do? You just sit there and stare at the wall, or do you like talk to people and play games? And
Right.
so you have brought several different ones, and we're going to talk about one here in a little bit that you brought. But what is, if you could say your all-time favorite game, just in general, what is it?
I'd have to say Settlers of Catan.
Mhm.
That was
have
the
never played it.
game I was introduced to post like Monopoly and Uno.
Mhm.
That really got me into board games again. So junior,
Is it
sophomore year of
Catan?
college.
Is that the correct pronunciation?
Yes, Catan.
Because I've always heard
For,
Catan.
for
What's
everyone
yours?
out there, it is Catan.
I'm just a simple guy. I like mindless games that don't take a lot of rules. The opposite of Jordan's games. So I really like Uno. I know that's not exciting, but I love just playing Uno.
Extreme Uno.
All of
specifically.
them. I'll do all of them. Yeah.
I like Telestrations. You ever
Mm.
play Telestrations?
I never think I've heard of
So you
that.
remember like the game when you were a kid, Telephone, where you whisper something in someone's ear and you see
Oh,
how.
yeah.
So it's the same concept, but the first person writes a phrase, the next person draws it, and the next person sees that image and has to write a phrase, and then you just keep going. So then you see at the very end the sentence compared to the very last image that's drawn.
Right.
It's really
So
funny.
that's an in-person
Mhm.
game because there's a Gartic phone, and we
Yeah,
played that.
yeah.
Right. It's
Similar thing.
where it's an online kind of like a Jackbox thing. Where
Okay.
you get a phrase that someone else wrote, and then you draw a picture, and then
So that one's fun because you can make up the phrase.
right.
The other one, Telestrations, is a little bit safer sometimes.
Yes,
It
you're
has
right.
made up phrases.
Sounds like the bucket. I think is what it's called. The
Mm.
college game. You like write verbs down, you throw
Oh,
it in the
yeah.
bucket, and then you can describe it. Second round, you get one word.
Fishbowl is also what we call it.
Fishbowl,
Yeah.
yeah. Third
Yes,
round,
yeah,
you
we
have to
played
like
that one.
just gestures.
So we like games here.
Mhm.
I've been introduced to a game here on this show called 30-second sermons,
Mm.
and I have been waiting for this moment for about 6 or 7 months. I am no longer the new person here,
Nope.
as this never played this game, is Jordan.
Uh-huh.
So Phil and Jordan are going to square off today in a variation of 30-second sermons. But not only have I been preparing for this mentally, I've also been preparing for this physically. Not getting into shape, probably getting out of shape.
Sure.
I love Chinese food, and I've collected all of my fortune cookies just for this moment. So we're going to play 30-second sermons, fortune cookie edition.
All right.
I have in this
You're gonna be
multiple. Some are terrible. I don't know how you're going to do it. But since Phil's the legend here,
Okay.
he'll go first, and then we'll turn it over to you, and we'll have fun with it. Okay. And then I won't judge you all; they will.
Of
Your
course.
peers. So,
As they do.
are you ready? Pick one.
All right. What do we got here? Man. Okay. It says a cheerful letter or message is on the way to you. Do I just start?
Yeah.
A cheerful letter or message is on the way to each and every one of us. It starts at Genesis 1:1. And you could write there, right at the beginning of your Bible, Dear Jordan. And at the end, right at Revelation 21, from God. This letter is written to you to help you understand where you stand before God and how you can get to Him. And that should make you very cheerful.
Oh, well done.
Well done.
That was easier than it should have been.
Right? Ready?
He's going to get
No.
There's a couple in here. I'm like, have fun. I'm like,
If I get the side that says your numbers are,
Yes,
have to do the
exactly, yeah.
sermon on
Oh,
that.
yeah. There are some churches that are like that.
How about another fortune? Are your legs tired? You've been running through someone's mind all day long. Yeah, I don't think that's impossible.
No, that's easy.
Yeah. Right. I could make a confession real quick?
yeah.
I have a friend, Kinsey, and she would randomly look at me and like just an object, like a water bottle, and be like, Jordan, tell me a sermon about the water bottle.
So you prepared this.
I think I've
That's
been
awesome.
prepared,
Yeah, that's what this
but we'll
is.
find out.
I think you're stalling right now.
Yeah, I am.
Come on.
Are your legs tired? Been running through someone's mind all day long. I think we're all tired. I think just going in and out of life day by day, the world just weighs on us, the issues, the problems that we face, the hardships. But there is someone who is thinking about us besides your mom. It is the Lord,
Amen.
God the Father, who has his mind on you from the beginning of time. And he has been waiting for you, watching and waiting and hoping that you would see him in his creation, see his word and how much he loves you and how much he cares for you, and that you would come to him. And you don't have to be tired because he will take all your burdens and he
That's
will
good.
take all your cares.
Well done.
Yeah, that was awesome. Hey, do you feel stupid now?
Why?
Because he just did
He
so
crushed
amazing.
it.
What was your first 30
Oh, it
second
was
sermon
probably
like?
tougher than that. I don't remember. That
Yeah.
was you probably could have done
No, that one was easy.
that. Have you ever guys heard of that song? He ran to me. He looked me in the eye. No,
Mm-mm.
just me. You should
The
look
Creed?
it up. But yeah,
Oh.
that's what happens when I don't remember the lyrics. It just melds into that. Okay. A forgotten project will resurface at the perfect moment. You know, in the Old Testament, near the end, right at the end of Malachi, there's a portion of the Bible that we don't think about, and that's between Malachi and Matthew, called the intertestamental period. There's 400 years of time when those people felt forgotten. God wasn't communicating with them. He wasn't sending prophets or doing miracles. There was a time of feeling forgotten. But at just the right time, the Bible says, God made a way through Jesus Christ for us to get to him. And he was born of a virgin. We're going to celebrate that here. Did you know that's what Christmas is about? Yeah.
Somebody told me
Not
that last
Rudolph,
week.
not Santa. It's the Son of God, who is that perfect time. Even when we're not aware of what he's doing, he is working the perfect project. And one day he's going to come back again
Finish it.
and finish it once and for all.
Wow.
Amen.
So
These are
prophetic.
actually
Amen.
working pretty good.
I think this is the way to play the
I
game
should just
from now
do
on.
this with sermons all the time.
God,
Think you
inspire
try-
me.
We'll get a deal worked out with China One Kitchen as the official sponsor of CDC sermons.
All
And
right.
Panda Express is some of these.
Yeah,
so.
Panda Express doesn't have the numbers on the back, so this one was a little easier.
Uh-huh.
You will be inspired to create your masterpiece today. I'm gonna be honest. For a really long time, I didn't think I was very creative, and then I started to write. I have a story that I've been writing, and I realized that everyone is kind of creative in their own way. Some people paint. Some people like go out into the wilderness and like those videos where they like make a house or whatever. Like the guy who just like made a house out of dirt, and I think that is related to God because God is the master craftsman. He is the original creator, and we have a little bit of Him in ourselves. We
Yeah.
are made in His image, and I think that when we create, we are showing a reflection of Him. That we long to be close to Him, to imitate Him in some way, and so of course the best story ever told is the Bible. The best creation is what God did in 7 days.
Amen.
Cheers. Crushing it. I'm not
Let's just
bitter.
go through them all. Let's just go through them all, Scott.
One more piece.
All right, here we go. Here we go. What do you do? Bring it closer. Success will be yours. You know, the Bible tells us that God's not given us the spirit of fear, but of power and love and a sound mind. And there are times where it feels like we are going to be failures, that we are going to stay in the dark and we're not going to make it. But with God before us, who can be against us? The victory is already secured through Jesus Christ. So success is not dependent on us. Success is through a person, and his name is Jesus.
Oh, well done. Well done.
That
Last one.
That was a harder one. That was a prosperity gospel one.
It's like a Reese's wrapper in here or something. Money speaks a language everyone understands. Money speaks a language everyone understands. Maybe I'll just got a short story while I think about this one for another 30 seconds. Money. We all need it. You can't go a day without food. In order to get food, you need money. In order to get water, somebody's got to buy it for you, or you got to buy it yourself.
Yep.
And that's how the world functions. If you want something in life, you need money. But God also tells us that money matters, that we do need money. The Bible also tells us that the love of money is the root of all evil.
Sure.
And we need to give this money that God has given us back to Him. And He tells us how to use it. Sometimes that's in tithing, just giving back to Him so He can use it. But also, He tells us how we should use it, that there is a wise way to use the money that He's given us. Go to Luke, I'll give you a nice parable on the usage of money. And so, yes, money speaks a language everyone understands, but it's how you use it that matters.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Full circle there. Let us know who you all think won. I mean, but I'm impressed. Maybe
I felt
I'm
like we
just-
needed to pray right
Yeah,
after those.
It was too earnest. I feel like it almost more awkward because it worked out so well.
Yeah. Here's what you could have also had. Answer just what your heart prompts you.
Wow, that'd been a good one.
All right. Optimists believe we live in the best of worlds, and pessimists fear this is true.
That would have been a tough one.
That would have been.
That's the one I hoped y'all would have gotten.
I'm going to think about that one.
All things come to him who goes after them.
Amen.
You know who comes after you, though.
Oh, he's running to your right.
Any impatience you show will only create more stress.
Yeah.
You feel stressed today, Jordan?
No.
He's pretty relaxed.
You're pretty relaxed.
You're a calming presence.
You're
I
very
think-
calming
thank you.
I
presence.
think we've all gone into like an NPR mode just because Jordan's around. Just
We need to go back to thoughts for your thoughts.
Yes, please.
All right. You guys tell us who you all think won. That was fun. Thank you, Jordan, for playing. But now we want to spend time talking about some board games, some
Let's
famous games.
go.
Now,
weird ones.
I've seen everyone's selection here. I will tell you, it's all over the map. Phil went through some like interesting ones, like that were old. Jordan went to some just kind of weird ones that maybe you've played some of these. I went to the ones where I'm like, I can't believe these were ever published.
Yeah, absolutely.
And some of these that I have actually been banned.
I think we could do like
Well-
4 episodes on the subject because there were so many.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
there was, some of them were shocking.
Yeah, it was so easy to find.
All right, let's start off with a game that I'll be honest, it might trigger some of you all, but we're gonna go and just do it anyways. This game is called Quarantine.
Ooh.
This was a board game where more or less you have to know how to run a hospital with a pandemic outbreak.
Yep.
Wow.
Like, why couldn't the game just been called like hospital? Like how to run a
Yeah,
hospital.
yeah.
But like, so you
Crisis
have to like go
hospital.
through and like, so I guess it came out 1980s, I think is what it was. So basically, there are highly contagious patients that you have to separate from the other patients and quarantine them and help get them healed before the virus spreads throughout the entire hospital. This was actually recently for sale of an unused copy of this. It's no longer in print. Can't imagine why. For $70 on Amazon. So there's
Wow.
that. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Quarantine.
Have you guys ever played
Quarantine.
Plague Inc?
No.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's the opposite.
Something similar.
No,
You cause.
you are the plague.
You are the plague.
and you're trying to mutate in
Has anyone
order.
ever told you that before?
Yeah, right. You're trying to mutate in such a way that you got to be sneaky.
Wow.
I knew so much about COVID because of Plague.
Right.
Inc.
Yes.
Like, okay, if we, if it gets airborne, we're going to be in trouble. Oh no, it's resilient. It's in birds now.
Yeah. If you're in Greenland, you'll probably be okay.
Oh yeah, yeah. You're not. Yeah, you're going to be fine in Greenland. Yeah.
What's your first one?
My first one is Ice Cube, the board game. This is not the rapper. This one is you literally take an ice cube, and each of you start off with an ice cube, and you pretty much torture the ice cube. You start off putting some kind of hot metal on its head, then you pour a bucket of water, you put it in a bath, a warm shower. That's all those little, pictures there at the top, and whoever survives the longest, that's who wins. And down there at the bottom, little Timmy says, I made my own ice cube. I call him Melton Milton.
Wow.
And it features self-contained waterproof game trays, although the ice cube is not included. So
Really?
What
yeah,
a refund.
I
Wow.
know, right?
A
So
joke.
that teaches you how to waterboard people and things like that.
Okay,
It just-
so this may be a natural avenue into why some of the other games I bring today exist. Because these
Sure.
kids
yeah.
played that game and then turned into psychopaths as
Right.
adults.
Yeah.
So,
Absolutely.
Jordan, your first one.
Is a little game called Greed.
Mm.
Now, the image on screen is not what I played. This is the modern version. In the original, it had a felt square that came on it, and it like told you all the point values, and it came with those same dice. But the point of Greed is to be the one who gets the most points.
Mm.
But the challenging part of Greed,
As most games.
as most games,
Yeah.
the challenging part of Greed is that you cannot start until you end your first turn with 500 points.
Okay, yeah.
So if you cannot score when you roll, you just don't get to play the game. So
Right.
everyone else, Scott could have 2,000 points, I could have 500, and you still be in the beginning,
Right.
not able to roll
Just stuck,
anymore
yep.
because you cannot
Yep.
get past that 500.
We play a game called Farkle.
Oh,
You ever
yeah.
heard that?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I've played
it's
it.
I've heard
similar
of it.
to that.
Okay.
Where it's a dice game. I'm sure it's probably pretty similar to that game. I've never heard of Greed though, but
It's really old. Like I haven't been able to find
mm,
the felt pattern
Mhm.
anymore. Like I still have one, and there's like an old like website you can visit. The website doesn't exist.
You know, they say that money is the language that everyone understands.
Yeah. Tell me more about that, Scott.
have you guys ever? This is a side note. This is one of them. Have you ever played the game Pass the Pigs?
I feel like I have.
It's
I don't-
2 pigs that
Oh,
are
but
like
no.
dice, and you roll them, and how they land is a point value. I think you would really like it. It's a
Okay.
fun game because they're like, okay, if this one's standing up and this one's laying down, that's so much money. But the most is if both pigs are stacked on top of each other somehow. If you roll it and they just land, it's pretty fun. I played it when I was a kid.
Well, thank you for bringing up pigs. That's a natural connection to the next one, which is Mr. Bacon's Big Adventure.
Wow.
Do you use real bacon?
No, I'm just going to read it to you all.
Okay.
Okay. I just have to read this because it's basically a variation of Candyland.
Okay.
But join Mr. Bacon on the mouth-watering mosey through Meatland.
Oh no.
Mosey.
On your journey, you'll have to navigate the way through the mustard marsh, cross the eerie expanse of Wiener Wasteland, and sail on the Sausage Sea. If you make it past the deceptive detour of Vegan Alley and avoid getting grounded in the Crystal Grotto, you might just make it to the Great Frying Pan at the end of the trail.
Oh, amen.
Wow.
So the goal
That's deceptive.
is to die. Like Mr. Bacon wants to get fried, right? That's
That's his purpose. That's what
So-
he's made for.
Can you imagine a weirder version of
That's weird.
Candyland?
Yeah, that's weird.
Mr. Bacon's Big Adventure.
Hardee's just brought back candied bacon. Have you seen that?
Really?
It comes in like a fry container and it's got like cinnamon and all that kind of stuff, and you just eat it. There you go.
Well, we need to
Eat
buy this game.
Play it.
Yeah.
And
I
eat.
really don't want to eat Hardee's, so maybe we'll just get our own bacon.
Birthday's coming up, guys.
Yeah.
For you?
Mm-hmm.
Have you
Aw.
guys ever had?
So is
choc-
Jesus's. You want to celebrate that or yours?
Well, there's a week difference, so
Okay.
we
Okay.
can
You
we can
got
do
time.
both. Yeah.
We can share dates.
Have you guys ever had chocolate covered bacon?
Yeah.
It's pretty
Oh,
good.
That's good.
Yeah.
I had a
chocolate
friend
bacon.
back in Parkersburg who his kids just love he had 3 kids. One of them just loved bacon so much. So
Mm.
one year he got every Christmas gift was bacon
Yeah.
themed, and one of them was bacon scented dryer sheets.
No.
They didn't use them, thankfully. I'm like, that's just
Yeah,
gross.
that's
That's
insane.
nasty.
That's also the reason why that show Weird Habits, remember that thing where people there was a guy on there who
Eating
ate
it.
dryer
Yeah,
sheets?
right, yeah.
That's why.
Yeah, that's it.
It had to be why.
All right,
Wow.
what we got? Is it mine
You
next?
are up. Yeah.
Okay, so show me what it is. Okay, this one is The Sinking of the Titanic, the board game. And here's what's okay. So maybe you would think that the goal is to not let the ship sink, but or
too easy.
to save people. But the goal is to beat out other survivors in getting supplies and getting to the life raft before they do. And I'm not sure if women and children are taken
Yeah,
into
do they get
effect
priority?
there. I don't think they do. And then your goal is to survive on these waters. But it's got I didn't get a picture of it. You can look it up if you want to. Really innovative board game. The board itself is a ship, and every turn it clicks down one more, and you're trying to find your way out of this thing. So there you go. Take
I wanna
a
know-
tragedy and
When this released,
I mean,
like how long did they
3
wait?
months ago.
right? Yeah,
It was
Recent
like
events.
30 years. Like they were like, this is an appropriate time. We
Right.
can release this game now.
yeah. Well, that's the thing is, and I won't mention any because, or here's one maybe that we could say, but like it's like making like Abraham Lincoln in the theater, the board game, like
Yeah.
It has an explosive ending.
and you're the assassin.
Oh, that'd be awful.
Yeah, just terrible.
It's a
right?
mind-blowing
Right.
event.
Yeah.
Sorry.
no.
That was inappropriate.
Need the show like a hole in the head.
All right, Jordan, let's go on. Your next one. Here you go.
Yeah. Coming off that, Here to Slay.
Ooh.
Yeah. So I was just introduced to this. Notice the bear, the unicorn, and
Which
the
one are you?
little cat. I'm usually a squirrel,
Okay. Okay.
so I haven't played any of the other characters.
Yes.
But this game, this is like D&D. This is how you get your friends to play D&D. Is you introduce them to this. So you get a little party leader card,
Mm.
and that is a class, so like
Okay.
a bard or
Mhm.
warrior, whatever it is. And that is like one party member. The goal of the game is to either get 5 more, and you'll pick those as you pick up your cards, or you slay 3 monsters, and then you can either screw each other over. Like, so if you were drawing a card, I could lay one down and like stop you from playing, and then we would
Okay.
roll. But it is. I've been telling my friend, I was like, this is how we're gonna get more people to play Dungeons and Dragons. We're gonna it's gonna be a psyop. We're gonna be, hey, play this game.
Forget evangelism into the church.
Right.
We're trying to get more people to play Dungeons and
Dungeons
Dragons.
and Dragons. Absolutely.
Wow.
Yeah, that sounds interesting.
Wow. So my next one is the game called PU, the guessing game of smells. It involves players using their senses to move around the board. And you can guess which sense you're trying to do. You're trying to smell different things in the village of Odorville. You evade traps set by the lively, naughty skunk, stinky smells, trademark pending, who makes the players smells different, smells as they move around the board. So Odorville's made up of different venues where you have to identify different. So I guess the cards
They
that
actually
you
smell.
draw stink.
Ah,
You will have
that's
different
crazy.
places. You got to go to the candle shop. You got to go to the restaurant. You got to go to the garbage dump, the laundry, garages. Some of those smells you'll identify will be good. Some will be bad, and some will be a mystery. The games comes with smells like skunk, manure, peppermint, barbecue sauce, popcorn, and more. Would you play?
Nah.
Once.
Wait,
Once.
Yeah.
Walking around the church, I think I already played this game. Like we smelled something last night in a closet. We're like,
I think it was a mouse.
yeah, we'll have to look around.
I hope
later.
it was.
Yeah.
This one for sure got on shelves, and the moms would walk by and be like, "We can't go into this aisle anymore. Like,
No,
we're gonna
right,
go
yeah.
look at books."
Right,
And they were like,
right.
"No, mom, please."
We
And
want
then it went
this.
off shelves because no one was buying games.
That's
anymore.
like the what's the Harry Potter like
That's
jelly
exactly what I thought.
beans
Yeah.
or
yes,
something. You're like,
bamboozled. Is that Bean
Bean
Boozled?
boozled. Yep.
Was yeah, you got vomit.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Remember when like
Dog
Jelly Belly
food.
made a few of them there for a while,
Right.
like
Yeah.
because of that.
I
They were gross.
I didn't mind when it was like, okay, this is buttered popcorn. I didn't like it,
It wasn't good.
but it was
No,
fine.
it was okay.
But then when you start doing like
Vomit.
snot and things like that, it's like, all right, I can't handle
Dog
this.
food I couldn't do. That was the one.
Dog food.
Yeah, that one.
So one time, it's a tragic moment, but I used to love Reese Cup cereal.
Mm.
Remember Reese Cup cereal? Loved it.
Not puffs. Cups.
Reese Puffs. That's
Oh,
what I
Puffs.
meant.
Yeah,
Reese
they still
Puffs.
have it.
Peanut
Yeah.
butter chocolate
Used to
flavor.
love it. I ate cereal every morning for breakfast, and then one morning, when I was a little kid, my dad. I'm not a morning person still, but my dad would get the cereal ready for me, and then walk me down the hallway and set me down. I'd be like half asleep. When the time I got to the table, I saw my brother taking our dog Biscuit's dog food and putting it in the Reese Puff cereal because it looked identical. I didn't eat it,
You don't know that you
but I have never had Reese Puffs since, and that's when I was like 10.
Wow.
I refuse.
So you don't know. I mean, you're sure that he didn't do that before?
He was visiting, I think, or maybe it was older. I can't remember. It was a one-time event.
That's
So
awesome.
I like to believe.
We got to get him back.
Let's see. You're up, right, Jordan? Are you next? Who just did
No, I
one?
think it's
I
me.
just think it's Phil.
Just you? Okay.
What's next on here? Okay, this is it's just a public service announcement. Don't try to teach your kids things through board games. So this is the game called Let's Be Safe, and it's a card matching game where kids draw a card with a potential danger on it, and then have to match it with the best response.
Oh my
And so
gosh.
throw that up there again, because I wanted to read. With all the concern about children's safety, here's something that you can do.
Joan was a great mother, I'm sure.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Right. Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of other things that you can do. Like that's not. We made a board game so that you don't have to actually talk to your children. You can let the game do it for you.
Wow.
So there's a fun little.
So it's like, remember, like it's 10:30 at night. Do you know where your kids are
Right,
at?
yeah.
Thing on the
Oh,
news.
no, I don't know where my kids are at.
But wherever they
Thank
are,
you.
hopefully they play the board game.
Right. Yeah.
Wow.
You all got that commercial
Yeah.
up here?
That's the Charleston, right?
That guy was my librarian at high school.
No way.
Yes.
Oh,
And he would
yeah.
wear different colored shirts that
So
said
that might
Is
have
it
been a different
W?
one.
What is it? W? I can't remember. It's the Charleston News down there, but that's that guy.
WSAZ.
There
It was
was
Channel 3.
I grew up in Pennsylvania, and there was something similar.
Some
I don't.
variation of it.
Yeah, I don't
It's
know.
a
if it's-
popular thing, but his was always grammatically just terrible. Do you know where your kids are at?
Yeah.
Like, you don't end a sentence like that.
And he would point.
At any point, yes. I remember because I went to Marshall, I would see him on local because we get the Charleston channel. I just crack up laughing. Who's your library teacher?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It was really cool, but also really weird.
Did he
Speaking
have
of-
kids?
I don't
No.
think-
He just didn't know where they were.
He's not sure.
It's all
either.
connected.
It was a cautionary
Life
tale.
experience.
Right, I know how serious it is.
That was like the fifth take. The first one, he was just crying. He was like, please.
All right, what do you got?
All right, the next one I think we have for mine is Sagrada. So this is for sure the game that you only play with people who like board games because this is all about making stained glass. You cannot tell anyone about this game that's never played like beyond Monopoly and Uno. Hey, let's make stained glass in this game, and they'll want to one play with you or to ever come over to your
Talk
house
to you
or be
again,
your friend
yeah.
again. This is how you end your
Again, life
friendships.
experience. Have you played this?
I've played it 3 times, and played it with people who
On
love
purpose?
board games. Yes, and still friends with these people.
Wow.
So it's all about you have like 50 to 100 little tiny dice in this bag, and you will pull out 3, 4, 5, and they're all different colors, and so you get different slots, and it will be like you have to put a blue one here, a red one here, and this has to be a 5, and then you'll get bonuses for if you do certain tasks.
I'm
But
bored already.
saying this out loud makes me realize how incredibly boring it is, and yet I love it so
Yeah.
much.
Yeah, sometimes you just gotta play them. I mean, I'm sure that helps.
Yeah, for sure, but you can't tell people. You have to be like, "Hey, we're just gonna play some board games."
Don't worry about what it is.
Yeah,
It was very
don't worry about the
colorful. That
topic.
was the first thing that I thought when I saw it. I was
Oh,
like,
it's
oh,
beautiful.
that's a beautiful game.
Yeah, give you that high church feeling.
Yeah, oh, yeah, absolutely.
All right, now I'm gonna depress you all. I'm gonna apologize ahead of time. These last couple ones I have are just messed up, and I can't believe these were ever made.
So this is not a commercial.
This is not. I am not promoting these games. Scott McClure is not promoting these games. Make sure you hear that. Do not cancel us. This was actually a real game. The first game, made in 2003, at a very pivotal point in U.S. history, the game War on Terror.
Oh,
Oh, no.
no.
This is a
Oh,
real-
no.
Real game
That's terrible.
where two British guys made this in 2003 in the wake of the U.S. invasion of Iraq. The goal is like Risk, where you are multiple empires trying to snuff out and kill all terrorists. But watch out, in the middle of the game, you spin a dial and you might become one. If you become one, you have to wear that mask that says evil on the rest of the game.
That's
Isn't that
worst.
awful?
That's the worst.
That's
That's
terrible. But here's the
really
crazy
bad.
thing. This is why I wanted to bring it up, because in the show IT Crowd in season 2, you can see that exact game on the set of Roy and Moss's office.
That's funny.
And then later in season 2, they're actually briefly playing the game.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't notice that.
So Phil watches that show, and that's why I wanted to bring that up.
Yeah.
But also, this was another interesting. This game was actually confiscated in a raid.
Hmm.
So there was a climate change camp. One of those camps.
Of
I'm just
course,
kidding.
yeah,
I was
right.
like, the one camp I would not suspect. But there was a climate change camp who was protesting a power station. And when officers showed up, they found an array of supposed weapons, including knives, chisels, bolt cutters, a throwing star, and a copy of the game War on Terror. So that's what they confiscated. That's a real game.
Wow.
And it's
Yeah.
been pulled off every shelf.
It's
So
pretty
you can-
intense.
sometimes when the government will do things like that, they will put it on a website,
See if who buys it.
usgovdeals.com, and you can just buy. Sometimes it's trucks, sometimes it's cassette tapes.
Yeah.
I wonder if that made it.
Yeah,
on the
right. All the
website,
way through.
Probably.
and somebody
yeah.
like bid. to purchase
I think I
that.
saw one website where like $280 you could buy it.
280.
So yeah.
Well, there you go.
Again, I am not endorsing that game or the other ones I have for you in a second, but there you go.
I am endorsing this next game. It is called Smoker's Wild.
Oh,
The premise of this game is a real mind bender. Kids start by choosing a profession that profits off people's smoking habits, like a tobacco planter or an undertaker. And they all have puntastic names like Rex Lungs or Doug Graves. So already we're off to, a weird start. Then, as they advance around the board, kids must avoid landing on spaces that cause them to get addicted to smoking, and you win the game by outliving everyone else.
Of course,
We're all playing this game already.
it's like life.
We're just trying not to get addicted to cigarettes.
That's the expansion pack for life. Is
Yeah.
the smoker.
Yep. They actually have a sequel to it that's called like Drinker's Wild. Or
I
something
knew
with
it had to
alcohol.
be something
Yeah.
about alcohol.
Yeah, so get your kids to play that one.
We should write our own version of it sometime. Let's make our own version of it.
Yeah, like bad theology.
Bad theology wild. All right, Jordan's
man.
next one.
So this is not a specific board game. This is a type of board game. So the one up on the screen is Pandemic Legacy Season 1.
Mhm.
A legacy board game is one that you come back after you play the first time, and you will pick up where you sort of left off.
Oh, okay.
So it's not like we were playing a game Monopoly, stopped,
Right.
came back, started again.
I have never came back to a game of Monopoly.
Once.
I
Never
hate it.
again. I would
I
never
hate
do it again.
Monopoly.
But it will pick up and so in Pandemic or Betrayal
Mm.
Legacy, like and another time.
Okay.
And so for Betrayal is one I'm more familiar with. It'll have random cards that you don't know anything about. And when you play the second time with the same group of people, because you have to have everybody there, it will change how you play. And so it's like specific scenarios. So it's more like telling a story than just playing like a
Right.
quick board game. But it has this idea of like you can only play it so many times. So for Betrayal, you've got like 10 sessions.
Okay.
But once it's done, you can kind of play the board game again, like just that set of stuff again. But normally, like the game will not function like it was intended to anymore. So it is a limited time game. Like you can only play it so many times.
Maybe you don't talk to those people anymore either. Like,
yeah, once you're
your
done,
friendship's over too.
you have to shake hands and be
It's
like,
all right,
I guess I'll never see
bye.
you again. Once the game is over, our friendship ends.
Yes, right. There's 10 sessions.
That's all we have.
Are you sure you want to play this?
That's funny. All right, continuing my depressing journey of board games. The next one is Capital Punishment, the board game. There is a new game called Capital Punishment. This is not connected. This was made in 1981. A quote from somebody who reviewed it said, "This game was made to make a certain point." And it turns out to be somewhat enjoyable. Is purely coincidental. That's what the guy said.
The review.
Yeah, this is kind of weird. So this game, more or less, I'm just going to say, according to what I'm read online, was a alt-right movement of capital punishment. So your goal is to keep people in the prison on a path towards one of three options: life imprisonment, death row, or the electric chair. But you also have the chance of using, this is what the board rules say, 2 liberal cards, and the liberals will come in and try to release these prisoners back into society as new people. This is real. 1981, but it gets better. In 1995, they made a celebrity edition of the game, which replaced the generic liberals and criminals with contemporary figures like Hillary Clinton, O.J. Simpson, Peter Jennings, the Menendez brothers, Ted Kennedy, Timothy McVeigh, and Susan Smith, and more.
Okay.
And that, again, not endorsing this game. Not at all.
Yep.
But that was a real board game.
I'm scared to say anything.
Yeah, don't.
What's that whole thing in the Bible about loving your enemies and like do good? I mean, there's judge. God is a God of justice as well.
You can still love people,
but you can not want to take pleasure and entertainment in killing people.
But like you go back as history, people like would go watch public executions.
Like, gladiators. I mean, really,
that was messed up.
NFL football.
I'm
just kidding.
Oh, there was another one. You just mentioned Gladiator. Of course, Gladiators, you remember, a lot of times slaves were the ones that built the Colosseum, and then they were the ones that fought to it. There was literally a game called Cairo, where your goal was to be a slave who built the pyramid and then knock down other people's pyramids by flicking little bricks at each other.
That sounds fun.
That was a game also. People, get help.
Yeah.
That's the point of today's, just go get help.
The world is messed up.
The world's messed up. Phil's last one.
Here's the thing that, do you play any video games? Yeah. So we all play video games, and the video games get a bad rap, and I'm not here to defend it. It is what it is. But board games can be equally as problematic here.
Yeah.
That's what goes to show you. So.
Yeah. This game puts forward the fact that people do not change.
No.
Do not release them.
Do not release them.
Will happen.
All right. Yep.
Yeah. All right. Phil's last one here.
This one's not as weird as some of the other ones. This is when I told Tori that we were talking about board games. She said, you got to talk about Mall Madness.
Did she play this?
She played it when she was a kid.
Does she still have it?
Well, she doesn't have that version. She has a newer version. And, but it's actually, fairly fun. But it is just a weird concept. They did update the new version where there's actually some men in the game too. It's not just women that are shopping.
Equal representation.
Men go to the mall.
Yeah, I know it happens all the time. I like walking around the mall, especially on a
I
rainy
like sitting
day.
in the food court and just watching people.
Sure, yeah.
Like just like these observations.
And to be
Not
fair
judging,
though,
maybe
and I don't know if your malls are like this. Our mall is actually pretty nice. It's not real big, but it's not depressing like some malls that I've been in. But it's this whole thing where
I was about to say which
three
mall?
stories of depressing.
The Huntington Mall, really good.
Sure.
Things are happening. The Charleston Mall is sad. I don't want to go to the Charleston Mall.
I think I've been in that one where they just like close sections off, right?
I'm pretty sure that's
Like,
where
you
the
can't even
zombie
go.
apocalypse is going to break
Yeah,
out.
sure,
For
right,
sure.
sure.
Yeah, there'll be like people that camp there.
But we'll know how to run a hospital when that happens
Absolutely.
because of that board game. Yeah.
So anyway, it's fun. The newer version has a store called Gas Queen. And
Of course
the,
it does.
the neat thing about it, though, that's different about other games, is you press a button and it kind of like tells you where you have to go next, and it just kind of rotates. And I'm sure your girls would love it at some point.
Maybe, yeah.
That's what we should bring the next seminary. It's
Yeah,
Mall
let's do that.
Madness.
We're going to do it. All right, Jordan, the last one. It's a game you've actually introduced to us.
Yes.
Tell us more about
This game is called The Mind.
I'm convinced it might be. No,
I'm pretty sure that's how I introduced it.
Yeah,
Did I
right,
introduce
yeah.
it that way to you? It might be
No,
The
it's
Mind.
really not, but it's a crazy game.
The purpose of the game is to be quiet and then to lay down the cards that you have in your hand in numerical order without communicating.
Which seems impossible.
It feels impossible too,
Yeah.
while
Then
you're
it
playing.
happens.
And then it happens. I have told people this, and I'm about to ruin it for you, so I'm sorry. If you never tell each other, if you never acknowledge that we are all communicating this way, you do
Right.
pretty well.
Yeah,
But
right,
as soon
right.
as someone says, "Oh," when you tap, and you're like, "Stop
No,
speaking!
Don't say that.
Don't say that
Yeah,
out loud. Now we
right,
can't do
right,
it
right,
anymore."
right.
I've never beaten the game. There's 12 levels, and you
Right.
get increasingly more cards, and you can have 12. So like level 12, you get 12 cards. Level 1, you have one
So
card.
meaning you have to lay 12 cards down from 1 to 100, which isn't that big of a span when you're thinking about each of you
Right.
laying down 12 cards, right?
Right.
Yeah. I mean, that's what's 12 times 4?
48.
48.
There you go.
You can only play with 4 people. Don't know why that was like the self-imposed rule.
Right.
You're too stressed to be at 5.
It's just too many people to try to understand like the body language and like what they're
It's
thinking.
all, again, it's all observation.
Yeah, I think level 8 is as far as I've
Yeah.
gotten.
I think we've gotten to like 5.
5, yeah.
Yeah.
Which is good because I think we did that in 3 games,
right.
which is really impressive.
Mhm.
Go play it.
Yeah,
It was
is
fun.
pretty
Yes,
fun.
It was a little stressful at first, but then again, you start watching people's body language, and it is a little bit fun.
And so here's where you get in trouble with this game. If you are uncertain of yourself,
Yes.
that's the one that's everybody be like, I'm gonna put my card down. And this one person, it's like the last card is 24 and they have 27 and didn't put their card down. It's like, dude,
Yeah.
what are you doing over there? The likelihood is that it's your
Yeah.
card. But then there's the people that are too confident and they're like 98.
quick.
Well, anyway, yeah, it's pretty fun.
This was like the card game of the year of like 2021.
Oh, really?
Oh, really?
This
Yeah.
got incredibly
Wow.
popular.
Is that when it came out?
Yeah, the
Yeah,
first year
wow.
it came
Okay,
out. Yeah.
cool.
All right, we got one more, and this is to redeem the depressing tangent I took us on with some of
Okay,
those
here
other
we go.
messed up games. Coming in strong in 1993, Credo, the game for Christians.
Hey, man, come on.
There we go.
So, what this game was to represent the early Christians who argued over theological concepts of the church. And so you were presented with heresy,
All right.
and different mechanisms and different things, and you're trying to make sure that you're following the creeds and make sure that you establish a creed. So you win by establishing 10 basic beliefs once they're established. Now, let's not be confused with the Muslim version of this game, which also came out a few years later. So there's a Christian version and a Muslim version. Just want to throw that out there. So make sure if you're going to buy this game, you buy the right one.
I would love
Otherwise,
to
you
see
might
those two groups of people play together.
That's how we actually learn about
That's how
the other
peace
faith.
becomes-
we switch games.
But you basically use cards to set up the articles of faith and firm beliefs while using other cards to show up their followers by proselytizing and by persecuting their fellow players.
Oh, no.
So you never knew, like Jordan, we celebrated 175 year anniversary the other day at CBC. And
Just saying.
Phil read the
Not to brag.
initial covenant that
Yeah.
they wrote, which is
Mhm.
beautiful.
Yeah, it was really cool.
Think about that covenant when you're playing this
Yeah,
game.
right,
Like,
right, right.
this was theologically sound. What this game probably is awful. The first player to either gain 11 million followers or gain 117 votes on the council wins the game.
Well,
I
now
don't
this
know
is
how-
a cult then. Huh?
It's a cult.
Okay.
If your name's David Koresh, you probably
Cult the
played this
game.
game at some point.
That's great.
Oh.
What was that first part you said in the description that early Christians argued?
Arguing over the theological concepts, precepts of the church.
Yeah, precepts. Yeah,
Amen.
those things don't happen anymore. We agree on it. All Christians agree on everything
Oh, yeah,
now.
we're all together.
Yeah.
So this sparks a subject that is pretty a wealth of weird faith content, which is Christian culture, things we say, games that we produce. I remember my mom bought me a Sega Genesis game
Oh,
that was all about like the armor of God and the fruits of the spirit. It was like Zelda, and you would go around. And then you got movies, weird
Bible
movies,
Man.
Bible Man.
It's on Right Now Media, by the way. I found it the other day.
Yes.
There's a TV version.
Oh
of
An
yeah,
that.
animated show now.
Yeah.
There's a hymnal one too, where it's a big hymnal book that runs around. That's something I love to do, is to just make fun of the weird things that Christians, because somebody's got to do it. And we
Church
just gotta
signs is
admit
a
it.
whole nother like
Oh yeah,
segment.
church signs,
Yes.
weird sermons you can't unhear is like a
Yeah, so I will confess, there's a whole thing. If you should follow them because they're really funny. There's a whole like canon now of weird sermons you can't unhear.
Mhm.
When we like churches went online and during the pandemic, your deep
Yeah.
fear was that you would accidentally
Oh,
mess up
yeah.
and be featured on that as
Right.
saying, because there are some people I love to listen to that
Right.
messed up something and got put on there. I'm like, oh, poor guy.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Also,
That's
yeah.
the goal, is not to become a meme. uh, so anyway, well, yeah. Well, the point being, I think we're going to go there next year at some point, maybe the beginning of next year, once we come back from Christmas break, and hit some Christian culture that's going to
It's
be
gonna be a lot of
pretty
fun.
weird. So today we're going to talk real quick about a game that we all play. You're going to love this segue.
Monopoly.
Here we go.
It is called the blame game.
Blame
Ooh, the
game.
blame game, right? We've talked about some pretty weird games, Scott especially, and
There's a
But-
lot of people to blame for those games.
yes, right. But have you guys ever met somebody that nothing was ever their fault, and
Yeah.
it didn't matter what you came at them with or how obvious it was that they had made a mistake, in our flesh, sometimes it can really get to us that, like, okay, you are going to finally admit that you were wrong about something. I'll admit it all day long, but you would never do, and I'm going to get you. And then sometimes what they've learned to do is to change the argument, right? It's like, oh, I'm stuck, so I'm going to not talk about this. I'm
Right.
going to talk about how I'm
Something
stuck
else.
now, or and we're going to move the goalposts or change the whole conversation and make it about something else and in some other way where we are the victim. And this might seem like a good strategy to win arguments, but ultimately, if you've known people like that, or if you tend to be that way, I'm sure we all do at times,
Never.
ultimately, it's a bad practice for us, because when we blame others for our problems, we will never fix them.
Mm.
And learning to listen to people, not everybody's right about who we are and about what we've done, but listening and taking and considering is part of wisdom. And if something is said to me, and where I'm, I did something to hurt somebody or to offend someone, listening to those things and considering other people's feelings, because you'll have that in arguments sometimes too, where it's like, well, that's not what I said, or that's not what I meant. Well, those words still came out of your mouth, and you are the communicator. And so if there was a flaw in clarity, you have to take some ownership over that. And so the point being here is that if we don't listen, and we always deflect, and we always point the finger at somebody else, you'll never become a better person. You will get stuck. And actually, a lot of times what happens is you get stuck in that victim mentality. And when you're a victim, what you're saying is, I have no control. And that's not a good place to be. That's not good for you. I'm someone that's constantly, just being controlled by the people that I perceive have wronged me. The blame game isn't new. It started all the way back in Genesis, right? Where they were tempted in the garden to disobey God, and Satan blamed God, and Eve blamed Satan, and Adam blamed Eve. And it's this whole, conglomerate.
That scene always reminds me of the infamous Spider-Man
Yes,
meme.
exactly.
Where they're
right,
all
yeah.
pointing at each other.
Right.
That's
yeah.
that's literally
Yeah,
the image I
yeah,
get.
exactly.
Yeah.
And some of those, concerns were real in that, but they weren't taking personal responsibility. And it ends up in, sin and all this flooding the earth, and blaming others for your weakness. The problem with that is it takes the responsibility off of me, that I couldn't do anything different. I couldn't react in any other way. My circumstance, my genetics, my upbringing, these are all the reasons that I am the way I am. And I can't do anything about that. So just accept me this way. Uh, and there are, things that happen to us in our lives that make things harder on us, but we can't just live a life where we're pointing fingers at everybody else and not actually taking responsibility for things. And until we're ready and willing to say that, I messed up, this is my sin and it's my fault, and or to admit, and if you're dating someone right now, Scott, you're married, uh, I'm married, we probably had those relationships before where maybe in the beginning, and this is from personal experience, where tried to win arguments. And that's a bad place to be. You don't want to be in a relationship with somebody where you're in a competition with them constantly to win or to got. That's a classic sitcom like uh, Carl from Family Matters. Finally, the other day we were watching one and finally caught Harriet, and he said, "You were wrong," and just in her face, and he struts up the stairs and just makes this big scene about it. It's like, dude, that is not love. That is not the right way. And I'm sure they made up and he, the whole thing. But that's not a good place. So in every argument, in every situation, we've got to own our stuff and take responsibility for that and say my issue, my fault, my problems, my reaction, the things that I did. It doesn't excuse somebody else when I say I'm also to blame, but we take some of that weight on ourselves so that we can in the future change that. And ultimately, the Bible tells us that we're all responsible for our own actions in our own given situations. Romans 14:12 says each of us will give an account to ourselves for God or to God. And so we can't, one day stand before God and say, it was Jordan's fault that happened or those things.
Josh's fault.
Yeah, it's Josh's. He's not here. I can blame him. And if all we can do is, just blame other people, we're not going to become a better person. We're going to become more infantile because those are the people without control are those that are immature, and the more that we become the victim and the more that we blame others for our situations, the more of a problem it's going to be. Have you guys ever met somebody that just talked a lot about like how they're just a person with a temper problem? Maybe they have red hair or something like that. They're like, I'm Irish, I've got a temper. And have you guys ever met anybody with weird excuses like that?
Well, I mean, I think the number one excuse I hear most people throw out, I'm human.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
That doesn't excuse anything you just did or what
Right,
you
yeah,
like.
yeah. I'm not perfect.
Or my other one is like, I haven't had my coffee today yet.
Oh, gosh,
No, you're
yeah.
just a jerk. It doesn't matter if you've had one cup or three. You're just a jerk.
Right.
Like this. Own it. Yeah.
I see it most, and you said infantile, which you see it most in kids because they don't know
right.
yet.
And that's
just
when
as
it makes
a
sense.
teacher. Yeah.
Right.
And so, and this is, if you ever trip, next time you trip, pay attention to what you say. And this is what I always get back to. Is it the rug's fault? Or is it and that's a silly example, but
Sure,
it
right.
just shows us like, it's never like, oh, I tripped. No, it's always the rug.
Right.
The rug tripped me up. Let me find something else that
Mhm.
I can point to be like, that's the reason
Yeah.
why something happened to
Right.
me.
Right.
Never like, man, I am clumsy.
Right.
I'm clumsy. I trip all the time, but it's always the rug's fault.
Oh yeah. But that's like a middle school boy playing sports. It's like, oh, this ball's not inflated enough, or oh, the sun was in my eyes, and that's why I
Yep.
didn't get the catch. And they always have all these excuses. Like, dude, it's okay.
You're actually
It's
just
all right.
bad.
Yeah, right. You
It's
can make
okay. It
mistakes.
happens.
Right. Yeah.
You're not LeBron.
Right. Yeah. And so
No.
just owning this stuff gives us control over this stuff to get better,
Yep.
to improve and grow. But if we don't, we don't admit it, then we're going to end up just getting more and more childish and infantile, like we're talking about. I've heard people say things like, ever since I was a kid, I had a hot temper. And what you're actually saying there is like, this is always how I'm going to be. Get used to it. And I'm not going to change. Accept me the way I am. I mean, the Bible tells us to be different than that, to not. Colossians 3:8 tells us to put away our anger, wrath, malice, and all these things. Take those things out of our mouth. God doesn't excuse our anger, no matter what, you know, pre what's the word I'm looking for? Disposition to,
Yeah.
to become an angry person. And we all struggle with different things, but that doesn't excuse us from, uh, you know, the reactions. Another excuse people use is their circumstances or their environment. If it wasn't for the people that I work with, I wouldn't have this problem. Smoking would be like that, right? Like I just work with everybody that smokes. So we just all go out there and hang out. And I get that that might be more of a temptation, but you can't blame other people for the fact that you put a stick in your mouth and light it on fire. Like
Yeah.
nobody's forcing you to do that. Uh,
If they are, get a new job.
yeah, right. Yeah,
Find new
and
friends.
maybe that
Yeah.
is, yeah, maybe that is a thing where you have to create some space.
Yeah, because even then, like we've talked about this before on the podcast, where you're also sometimes what do they say? You are the product of the 5 friends you allow in your life.
Sure, right?
Sometimes you just need to find new people,
Absolutely,
right? And that's a difficult step, but maybe that's exactly what you need to do.
right. Yeah, and that's the thing that we don't take is like, oh, I'm putting myself in this situation. It's not my friends that are doing this to me. I am allowing myself to be at the bar when I'm stressed out, and that's why I drink too much. Uh, or I have pressure at home. If I didn't have this pressure, then I'm sure I could change. It's not my fault. Uh, all these things are once again us not taking responsibility for our actions. Now, it's important for us to say too here that what we're talking about here is not people that have real trauma and abuse, and those
Right.
things obviously. Now we got to qualify that too. Like today, if you're not careful, everything is trauma. Like if we got to draw a line there, because if everything is trauma, then nothing is trauma. The lady at McDonald's didn't give me my straw, and I know she knew to give me. No, like, that's not trauma. So we can't trivial.
I'm sure about the lady we played Call of Duty with last night.
Yeah, right. Yeah, yeah,
Yelling at the waitress about not getting a refill.
yeah, exactly.
What in the world?
Goodness
Bringing her
gracious.
drama
Yeah,
into
right,
the Call of Duty
right,
chat
yeah.
room.
Yeah, exactly. So, but yeah, like so,
Helps your
so,
performance.
but there is real pain and real trauma in the world, and but even in those situations, if you constantly allow yourself to live in that victimhood, you are giving up control. Yes, this terrible bad thing happened to me, and it wasn't my fault. I was innocent in this situation, but at the same time, I am going to do my best not to allow my life to be defined by this, and to allow that person that did me wrong to still control me today. Because we can go our whole lives blaming someone else for our struggles, uh, and we take away our own ability to grow and move past this hurt and pain. Now, again, that's easy for me. I didn't face abuse as a child, and these things may seem, I'm just flippantly saying them, but I do believe that to be true, even though that might be hard and difficult. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I've said for years, I think I've said it even on this podcast too, at some point, you will always face the consequences of your own sins or the circumstances of somebody else's. And like you're saying, you cannot be defined by that. There comes a point when you have to move on and grow. Like the example I've always used with that was David, who literally faced the consequences of his sins, and others face the circumstances of it. And like,
Yeah.
think about the other people who were impacted by his decisions to do what he did. But all along, you still see people growing in their wisdom, growing in their identity with Jesus or with God, and growing past it, not being defined by that. And like you're saying today, so many people are defined by trauma or by a victim mindset, and you get locked in that. It can be years of getting out of that. And so the things that we're kind of talking about are mostly, it's the referee's fault. WVU fans, it's never the referee's fault.
Nope.
Just going to throw that out there. Y'all just think, hey,
Yep.
Marshall beat WVU in the Sun Belt Championship and secured the number 1 spot in the NCAA tournament. So go Herd. There you go. But anyways,
Yeah.
we're just better. But no, there are, training yourself in the minor things will help you in the bigger things.
Right.
Growing up, it was a teacher's fault, the umpire's fault, the ref's fault, the other kid's fault. Learning how to accept your own responsibility and grow from it, because you're in charge of your own growth and your own
Right.
progress.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
so I think once you start to handle bigger things, you start seeing how the same thing applies.
Right. We can't make everything we can't change how people treat us. We can change how we can react to it.
Yeah.
Duke and Alabama and all these amazing programs that always seem to win. Georgia lately, they also have to face the bad calls from the referees.
Yeah.
And so we all have those things in our lives, and some are far worse than others.
Yeah.
But we don't get to control that. We get to control what we do after that. And and there is, we want to make sure that we're clear here. Like, we're not saying get over it.
Yeah,
we're saying there's a healthy rhythm of grief and acceptance and all that. But there is at the other end of that, and for some things that might take longer than other times. But there is at the other. There has to be a working towards not living in it every day.
Yeah, you. I think even in your sermon yesterday, you referenced something about, I can't remember what scripture you were talking about, the stuff being in the past and moving forward. But the thing about what Paul says in Philippians 3, I forget what lies behind. I press onwards toward the upward call of Christ Jesus. Like Paul had everything that he could like point at other people and blame. He could blame God. He could blame Jews. He could blame Christians. He could blame everybody. Yet he said, I want to forget what lies behind. And he wasn't forgetting only the bad. Right. He was also forgetting the good things he had. And said, I want to press on to the upward. And actually the better translation is the heavenward call, right? Of like almost like a forward and upward diagonal kind of trajectory that we were on, and not just being stuck kind of circling around,
right? And that, to be clear, Paul was like beaten and like shipwrecked.
Yep.
And
he could have been an absolute victim,
bitten by a snake, poison, all these crazy things. I love that list. It's I mean, it's like it's like huge, like impactful.
I just had a bad day.
Yeah, right.
Then I read that. I'm like,
these are all the things that's happened to me. But, and he wasn't saying those were trivial things. That was the opposite of what he's saying.
Yeah. He's
saying those are big things that have happened, but God's not, done with me yet. And I still have a purpose. If I'm not dead, God's not done. And so what can I do to move forward?
Yeah. The thing about Paul is, like, one, Paul had God, but two, Paul was like, had people surrounding him. So those are the sweetest friends, not the ones who are like agreeing with you and like, oh yeah, it's everybody else's fault, nobody else mattered. Like, it just, like Job's poor friends. Little guy. Yeah, yes. Job's friends.
Go curse God and die.
Yeah,
right.
That was his wife,
go
actually.
Like, the sin is your fault, Job. Yeah, like, you've done something horrible and you don't realize it. But the great friends are the ones who are like, hey, like, what about you? What have you got going on? And that like challenge you. And when they feel comfortable doing that, means you've got a solid friend.
Right.
And because when they do that, you can take a moment, and I think everyone should do this periodic life and do like a self-evaluation. Like, and you mentioned marriage and my girlfriend. I have two of my friends just got engaged. I'm not announcing something, simply reflecting on something. And the idea is
a weird faith first.
Weird faith first. I'm announcing,
probably
not here.
Are you asking her here?
She won't watch. She won't.
Right here. She probably will. But
she joins the club of people who don't watch.
That's what happens when we get married. They stop
watching.
taking part in our content.
But it's like you don't have marriage problems. There's problems you should bring into marriage.
Right.
It's like the marriage doesn't create the issues. The marriage reveals the issues that were already there in both people. Yeah. And so just thinking about them taking that next step is like, this is probably prefaced with, and then still in a lot of self-reflection. I mean, like, of them being like, I know I'm not perfect, and I want to make my wife a better person, and I want her to point her towards God. What is it that is in my life that will drag her down, that we can notice together, and then work to do something about it?
Yep.
Yeah, that's crucial. Marriage, any relationship that you're in. Highly encourage many of you to read The Deeply Formed Life by Rich Villodas. I don't know if you ever read that or not. He spends 2 or 3 chapters at least just talking about interior examination. And most of it was, I think, was a gift from like the monastic movement of just spending time reflecting inwardly. And you brought up the Titanic earlier, using the iceberg as an illustration.
Yeah.
They only saw the tip of the iceberg, and that's what we see on the outside of how we react. But 90% of an iceberg is beneath the water. And so it's stopping when you react to something, or when you want to blame somebody, just stopping for a second, reflecting quickly, and spending time examining, why did I do this? Why am I thinking this way? And someone asked me like the other day, even I was talking to them about this, like, well, how do you do it so quickly? I'm like, it takes like years of practice to do that. But there comes a point, like we're talking about growing, where all of a sudden you can do that examination pretty quickly to say, why did I just react this way?
Yeah.
Because you've been putting the effort in over
Yep.
the last several years to work towards
Well,
that. The beginning stages, it's
yeah.
awful.
That's one of the ones that I struggle with the most is why am I so defensive right now? Like
Mhm.
that person just said something simple and just expressed their opinion. Why did that get under my skin so much? And when you work with people a lot, you can, if you're not careful, you can begin to be upset at this person because this person hurt you a long time ago. And
Mhm.
I've had those conversations with somebody, and it's like, oh, you're not arguing with me. You're arguing with this person in the past that you wish that you could have said all these things to them. And now you're bringing those things up to me because you've thought about it for 5 years.
Yeah. We've had conversations where I've had to like almost like show him like what's beneath the surface of like
Right, yeah.
past pain of like church hurt stuff. And I know
Right.
he's experienced church hurt. I'm sure you have too in some degree. But there was times where I was absolutely degraded by a pastor I worked
Right.
with, and it's left a long lasting thing. So there's certain things like he would do,
Mhm.
Bill would do that was innocent. But
Right.
my reaction to it at first was I wanted to lash out.
Sure.
But then I'm like, then I started thinking through, why am I reacting? This is not X, Y, and Z. This is just,
Right.
this is Phil.
Right.
He's not meaning anything by it. It's just the way just the
Sometimes
way
I
he
do.
is.
Sometimes I
Sometimes.
do.
No, but it took a long time to, but it's also having like you're talking about the friends in your life to be also to say, hey, well, I'm no longer a victim of this. This has left marks and scars. So there are times where I will react this way. So I can say, well, I've struggled with it's not that. Well, ever since I was a kid, I've had temper.
Right.
You say now is like, hey, I've had temper
Sure.
problems in the past, and there's times when that's going to come
Right.
back out.
Well,
And I apologize ahead of time, and it will work through it whenever we do.
and a good friend will say, "Oh, let me not say it that way."
Yeah.
And I've had that with Josh and with you and Tori and other people in my life, where it's like one that just drives me crazy is like let's chat.
Oh,
Like,
that's the worst.
don't ever say that. to me.
Never.
I'm gonna text you back and say, okay, now. Like,
Yes, me too.
don't
Yeah.
say I need to talk to you in 3 weeks. Because again, we deal with people a lot, and nobody ever means anything good.
I asked somebody one time, I was like, hey, you want to go grab lunch? And we went to their doghouse actually in Parkersburg and had lunch with them. And he's like, so what do you want to talk about? I'm like, I have no agenda.
Yeah,
He's
right,
like, yeah,
yeah.
you do. I said, I really want to eat a cheeseburger, and I thought you were
You
off
could
today,
join
so
me.
I thought
I
you just
thought
want to
you
join
liked
me.
cheeseburgers
Maybe we could
too.
play disc golf afterwards. She's like, oh,
I've
okay.
started doing that with church because you try and take people out, and we all try and take people out to lunch or things like that, and just to hang
Yeah.
out because you don't have enough time on a Sunday morning to get to know people. And so I've started texting like I don't have an agenda.
Oh, I say it all the time
just
now.
want to hang out with you because I've gotten to the end of meal. That's when I felt even worse, where it's like, oh, we've sat here for an hour, and then they're like, okay, like,
What do
do
we
you
need to
have
talk
something to talk to us? Oh no, I'm so sorry. I should have told you that before. And I get it. Like in their position, I might have felt that way too.
We will tell you up
Yeah.
front if we have an agenda.
Oh,
It'll be like,
I won't take you out to lunch
No.
if I've got an
No.
agenda.
hey, I'm probably going to call you right away and
Yeah.
say, we need to
We
talk
say
right
it.
now.
Have a
Yeah.
conversation. I am known poorly. Like I'm not glad I have this reputation for being like, can I talk to you? And genuinely
Right.
just want to have a conversation with someone. But when I started doing that, it was probably 6 months to a year later. These two people came back to me and like, we're gonna be honest. We thought you we had done something and you were
Sure.
like upset with us. So I was like,
Yeah.
no, I just didn't know you and I wanted to get to know you.
Right.
And they're like, you gotta stop. And I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, I'll try. Like, so I just feel
New
like I'll
phrase.
preface now.
Yeah.
I don't have an agenda. I just
Yeah.
want to talk to you.
I that triggers me too. I can't stand when people ask me, "Can I ask you a question?"
Just ask it.
That's
Yeah.
more of a pet peeve.
It's a
It's
a
like,
well understood pet peeve.
no, you can't ask me a question. You've lost the right. I don't want to talk to
That
you
was the
anymore.
one question you could ask
Yeah,
out of
that was it.
questions.
You just did. Goodbye.
Yeah. No, that's awful.
Anyway, so we've been talking about, we've got us all fired up in here. But the bottom line is what we're talking about is that we got to own our stuff and don't press the blame. And that's not to say that everybody else is innocent when we take the blame for our stuff. We can only control our reaction to
Right.
things. And ultimately, what we can rest in is that Jesus took all the blame for us. And he took on all of our sin and he took on all of our debt and punishment and he covered it once and for all. So we can live in that freedom. That's the gospel, the good news that he became sin who knew no sin so that we might become the righteousness of God. And Jesus had every right to you know, the sins pointed at him, the blames pointed at him, and him to say, "Oh no, wait a minute here. I've never done anything
It's all
wrong.
y'all.
Yep.
It's all of you." But he knew what he was doing, and he took on our blame and our sin and bore our shame and guilt so that we can be in relationship with the Holy God. And so we can rest in that. So if this pressed on some of the issues that you've faced, you can always rest in that fact that Jesus is the one that took our blame ultimately, and we can rest in Him.
And I think there's at least I have found, and maybe you all can agree as we wrap this up, but I think there's a sense of empowerment is when, so like, like a spousal argument, when you think you're right, they think they're right, even if you're both wrong, there comes a point when if you own it,
Yeah.
you're almost empowering the other person to do the same. And so it's a
100%.
mutual idea of accepting responsibility.
For
Now,
sure.
don't be disappointed. Don't be disappointed if they don't.
Right.
Again, come back to yourself. Just own what you can own. And I think it can be an empowering thing. And also with your kids, you're being educational with your kids.
Model
You're
that.
modeling it for them.
Right.
Don't blame your kids for the stuff.
Oh, yeah,
like that's
right,
the
yeah.
worst. But model that example for your kids as well.
Right.
So.
No, yeah. That's one of the worst things that we can do as parents is guilt and shame and blame our children. Well, I'm sorry that I yelled at you. You annoyed me, or you frustrated
Don't
me,
add the
or
just finish it. I'm
No,
sorry.
yeah, absolutely. And show them how to own up to their stuff. Hey, I shouldn't have talked to you that way.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Now, the important thing when you do that as a parent is in the future, then you've got to, in order to be able to discipline them and train them in the right way, is you got to stop doing that. Because, and that's what I have learned is when I react poorly, I got to take all the blame then. And then I really lose an opportunity to train them because I'm coming back and saying, I'm sorry. And if I would just have left it at the disobedience, then I could just be clear and concise and say, hey, you can't do this without me having to own, I'm sorry that I blew up and yelled at you for an hour.
Yeah.
And that it's such a more free way to live, to say, I'm sorry, and just do it quickly and not in a passive aggressive way where I'm sorry you made me mad or something dumb like that.
I'm sorry you heard it that way.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
I've said that once.
I'm sorry that I communicated poorly. I didn't mean to hurt your feelings. Is the correct way to do that. And just not try and blame shift. And even if when you don't feel like you did anything wrong, there are things that you can own about it. Like
prioritize being loving, not right.
Right. Exactly.
There are times, and yes, you want to be in the right, and I understand that, but there's also times, all the time, you just simply need to be loving. Just prioritize a relationship over whether or not you are right or wrong. And we talk about that with parenting. At the end of the day, if you want your kids to still love you when they grow up, prioritize a relationship over whether or not they are right or you are right.
Right. And this is a much more free way to live. It's
Yep.
a way to live without regret and to just be carrying burdens around and keeping score with people.
Yeah.
Is to finish these things off, own your stuff. And like Scott said, a lot of times the reaction to that is they're going to own their stuff too, and you're going to live with a lot less conflict in your life.
Good stuff today.
Amen.
Give it up for our beloved friend Jordan.
Thank you, Jordan.
Yeah, thank you all for having me.
We'll have
Game
to have
master.
you back, man.
We need a live version where we just play a game.
Yeah.
Dude, I brought
What we need
You
to
brought
do,
games today?
and
what
my
we need
every
to do
day.
is order some of these games and play them.
I will not order.
None of Scott's.
No,
Half
yours
of
are
mine
two.
will get me on a no-fly list. So.
I want to do the Ice Cube one. Smokers Wild sounds like it would be
Ice Cube,
hilarious.
We need to bring Credo to seminary class and
Yeah, right,
have our
right,
professors join in with it. That's their theology.
So if you know of any weird board games, make sure you comment down there and let us know. We love reading those and participate in that. Make sure you share. Make sure you talk to somebody about weird faith. Our goal here is to make faith approachable. And for someone that might never step foot in church or maybe isn't even a Christian, that we would begin to destigmatize all the weird things that Christians do that we're going to talk about in a month or two and get past some of that to the truth that we talked about today. I think anyone could approach this topic of blame and learn something amazing from it. And that's
absolutely.
We believe the Bible is true. Getting it out there and being loving and just having conversations with people. So we want to get this, out to your friends and to your family. So Send it to somebody. Let's get weird together.
Yeah. You all are amazing. We will see you all after Thanksgiving. So you guys are amazing too. I just wanted to tell them.
He
They're
was laughing
amazing.
at what I said. Let's get weird together.
He did.
Let's get
And I threw that out there just to kind of keep moving
You tried
on.
to buzz through it. That was a weird thing to say. I promise.
Have an amazing Thanksgiving. We will see you guys in December for a special live version of Weird Faith. Also, come check out CBC or Barboursville Baptist Church. Is that the right name?
Yeah,
Barboursville
absolutely.
Baptist
Down
Church.
there
Huntington.
south.
During the Christmas time. You know, it's a
Perfect
great
time.
time to go to church. Every time's a great time to go to
Every
church,
day,
but it's
yeah.
a really special time of year.
Got
the
any
Advent
other
season.
pluggables like coffee blends or
No,
Follow him on social
kombucha?
media.
maybe. I may accept you. I don't know. If you find me on
Smash that
social
like
media,
button.
sure.
Just find him in real life
Yeah.
and just give him
We'll
a
get coffee
handshake.
then. Yeah.
Go down to Barboursville.
Come to Barboursville.
Go to Fat
Absolutely.
Patties. You know, have
Fat
fun.
Patties.
There you go.
There you go.
Axe throwing.
Axe throwing.
Huntington Mall.
Down into mall. There you go.
Just walk around.
That's the mall madness that we really need to talk
Yeah.
about.
Absolutely.
Yeah, he'll show you how to have a real shopping spree, and
Yeah.
you can just go
Post
take
college
things off the
budget.
shelves.
All right,
Hey,
guys. Thank you guys so much for joining
Bye.
us.
Let's
Phil?
get weird because normal isn't working.
See y'all.